Hi, this is Stefan from SSW.
Hi everyone, this is not Stefan from SSW. I am your lovely accountant Jimmy. My dear friend Stefan is currently enjoying his holiday in Europe, so it is my turn to navigate you through the financial data of July 2024. This is my first finance video, so let's see if I can make everything in one shot. Let's get started. Our cash and cash equivalents for this month are 7.1 million compared to last month's 6.8 million, which means we've actually seen an increase of 300,000. The cash in the tank was 27 weeks last month and has increased to 30 weeks in July. Our free cash flow is 269,000, which is quite impressive for the first month of the year. Our revenue decreased slightly. It was 1.3 million last month, but has dropped to 1.24 million in July. However, if we compare this to July 2023, we've actually increased from 920,000 to 1.24 million this year. Our operating profit margin is now 16% compared to last month's 10%. All the figure here shows a great start to this financial year. Our monthly revenue is 20% higher than the rolling average. Our gross profit has nearly doubled, and our operating profit is almost 3 times the rolling 12 months average. Let's check some key government index. The income tax rate is now 25%, which I think should be okay. This should be FY25. I have updated the first report to fix it. It is the same last year. The instant asset write-off is 20,000, but this only applies to small business which with a turnover under 10 million. I believe SSW will definitely exceed 10 million this year. So we don't have any instant asset write-offs, which means we will also have a lower depreciation expense for the year. The minimum salary package for level 1 professionals, which is graduate developers, is 62,000 this year, up from 69,000 last year. The superannuation rate has also increased from 11% last year to 11.5% this year, and will eventually rise to 12% in the next year. The super cap for the year is 30,000, up from 27,500. Employees are now able to make more contributions as part of salary sacrifice without paying extra tax. The monthly CPI as the end of June 2024 is 3.8%, and please be in mind that the 3% is an important benchmark for RBA to achieve. If CPI hits 3%, there is a high likelihood they will reduce the cash rate. Move on. This is cash positions. We can see last year we started with a little under 8 million and finished at 9 million. When I refers to last year here, I mean FY23. So in FY23, we started with 8 million and finished with 9 million. By the start of FY24, we began burning cash all the way through April 2024, and then we started to build more cash reserves. The cash position is on a very strong upward trend right now. The gas in the tank also indicated the same. The lowest point was in April 2024, but since then we've been getting more cash while spending less. So the gas in the tank has increased from 25 weeks to 30 weeks. The revenue growth for the past 12 months has fluctuated a lot, but from a rolling average perspective, it's been increasing since April and May this year. Revenue for the last 12 months shows a strong increase over the last couple of months. I hope we can maintain a monthly revenue of between 1.2 million and 1.5 million. Let's see. The accumulated revenue year to date started higher than last year's position, and I hope it continue to grow. Next, this is P&L for July 2024 compared to last month. Our consulting revenue decreased, as I mentioned before, and our billable staff salary decreased by 10,000, while non-billable staff expense decreased by 43,000. This is the figure for July, and I expected it will be lower in August. You can see here that the superannuation figure is quite similar, despite the 0.5% increase in the super rate. So this also indicates we probably paying slightly less than last year. Moving on, our depreciation is quite similar, and our travel expense decreased by 33,000 because we do have a lot of conference in June 2024. Our SAT expense also decreased by 10,000 because we pay the 10,000 for our Microsoft Gold membership last month. June 2024. All the other figures are quite similar. Our interest income for the year is 12,000, down from 27,000 last month, because all of our term deposit will mature in August. So I expected higher interest income for August, potentially over 50,000. Our net income for the year increased from 181,000 to 213,000, and the net income margin also increased from 13% to 17%. Let's compare the P&L from the current month with July 2023. Compared to last year, we have a significant increase in revenue and corresponding increase in salary, superannuation, and contractor expense. As I mentioned earlier, these figures might decrease in August, so all the other figures are quite similar, with no major increase or decrease. Our interest income decreased slightly due to the term deposit, but you can see that last July we actually made a small loss, whereas this year we have a lot of revenue and net income after all expenses. Let's move on to the prepaid credit summary. As of the end of July, Westech has 276,000 prepaid remaining, followed by BizCover with 127,000, and the ASF with 93,000, make it a totaling 600,000 in prepaid credit. By August 11th, this decreased to 477,000, still led by Westech, followed by BizCover, and then DPM. So ASF used a lot of their prepaid credit in the first couple of weeks in August. Now, this is the invoice summary we issued to our client. Westech led with 400,000 invoiced, and all of it has been fully paid. For CER, we issued 300,000, which was paid in August. ASF revenue is 281,000, also fully paid, followed by BizCover, Bluetongue, DPM, and EventAir. For the University of Sydney, we give them about 1 month's credit term, so they've only partially paid the invoice so far. We issued a total of 1.6 million in invoices, and you can see from here, actually 1.5 million has been paid. So leaving about 65,000 outstanding. Most of the outstanding invoice has been paid already. Let's check the monthly data. In July, we invoiced a total of 1.6 million, which has been steadily increasing since April this year. Moving on, this is the sales received summary. Well, basically the money we received from our client. For CER, paid the most at 450,000, followed by Westech at 400,000, and ASF they paid 281,000. The total cash received in July is almost 1.5 million, which is quite stable. Westech typically pay every 2 months, so this figure tended to fluctuate every 2 months. In July, 60% of our invoice were paid through prepaid accounts. This is much higher than the previous financial year, where most of figure were around 45% to 50%. Our utilization rate is now 54%, which is very positive, as we aim for a healthy utilization rate of 50% to 65%. The total invoiced amount and the total received amount are quite aligned, and this is the outstanding invoice amount. I'm not sure why this report is still here. Probably we might have to consider removing in the future, because we did have a similar report from Zero. Let's look at the big numbers anyway. So for the NDC conference, this is a contract deal we had with them. So we've issued this invoice, and we will deduct this amount from future expenses when we attend the NDC. For Blackbaud, there was a 50,000 invoice that has been overdue for 78 days. So initially it was thought to be a small job, so they expected a quick payment, but it turned into a 50,000 job. And so they requested some additional things. So they want us to set up something like a window portal. So I've discussed with Levi a couple of times, and we are expecting the payment in August. For Engage Psychology, there was some data migration done by Nadi and Warwick, but there was a dispute about the invoice. Michael has been trying his best to resolve this with Zoe, the lady from Engage Psychology, and hopefully this will be settled in August. All the other items are quite reasonable. This one here is an invoice we should have invoiced in June, but actually issued in July. So we've given them 1 or 2 weeks to make the payment. This is the account receivable detail report from Zero. We've mentioned this old item a couple of times before, and they are being handled by Adam, Penny, and Cameron. With Michael working on the situation with Zoe, I hope we will find a solution as soon as possible, and I expected the payment in August as well. Apart from that, we don't really have some major items in account receivables. They are quite healthy. By the end of July, the total account receivable is 815,000, and as I mentioned in the another videos, most of them has already been paid. Moving on, this is the P&L Power BI report, where we are tracking the figure for July 2024. As you can see, we constantly made a loss in the previous financial year, but this trend has come to an end, and we've been making a profit since July 2024. The outlook is very positive, and we are actually earning more profit each month. The top expense account are salary and superannuation, followed by rent, intercompany cost, which is also transfer payment, payroll tax, and contractors. This is P&L by office. If you check July, you can see the gross profit by each office is led by Brisbane, followed by Melbourne. Here, our gross profit for Sydney and Newcastle is quite low. And after accounting for expense, the Sydney office and the Newcastle office is actually making a loss. Most of the profit is still coming from Brisbane office, followed by Melbourne. This is the revenue for the first month and for each quarter. You can see the revenue started to increase a little bit, while our expenses are also gradually decreasing since April 2024. Our accumulated operating profit has improved. You can see that last month we were still making a loss throughout the last financial year, but starting from this month, we've seen a positive number. Let's see how much profit we can make in this financial year. Monthly revenue has increased since March, and our rolling average expenses, which saw a big increase earlier, has started to stabilize. I expected this trend to continue, with expenses possibly getting a little bit lower while our revenue is increasing. Our revenue used to be decreasing, but that trend has come to an end, and we are expecting strong revenue in this financial year. In July 2023, we started with 9 million in cash, but we burned through a lot of it and ended up the last financial year with 7 million. So we basically burned 2 million last financial year, and almost half of them was sent to our overseas offices in China, in France, and in US. I don't think we I don't think we sent any money to China. So yeah, but half of the cash burned went to overseas offices. Regarding our receivables, they are remain relevantly stable. Occasionally, there might be late payment by a month, but it's nothing significant. Move on to free cash flow trend. We only have the figure for the first month, which is positive, very good signal. The number for the employees, we've had fewer since June, with most of them being billable staff. We started with 60 in 2023, and we still have 60 in 2024. For non-billable staff, we've remained stable at around 20 people. The rolling average utilization rate, which is 56% before, has dropped all the way to as low as 40%, but we are gradually improving. The figure here is 42%, but on the previous page it shows okay, so this is the rolling average. Okay, that's okay. The break-even rolling average utilization rate has stabilized, dropping from 58% to 55% right now. The average billable hour has seen a slight increase here, but our cost and average overhead rate are still quite similar. This is I feels like it doesn't make sense to separate them, because basically you needed to add the overhead cost and the salary together to get your average billable cost, and then you compare this one with the billable hours, so you know how much you can make per billable hours. Maybe this is something we can this can be achieved in our next report. So move on. Let's check the detailed P&L. We actually already summarized this one before. If you need more information, you can pause now and get more figures. or I just move on. Okay. In July, we collected 1.2 million in cash and spent 660 on billable staff. We spent 381,000 on non-billable staff and general expenses. We received some interest revenue and also had a positive cash tax revenue because of our R&D refunded in July, which was about 270,000. Combined with the tax paid in July, we end up with a positive tax income of 100,000. So the operating cash flow ended up at 260,000. The net cash flow is 269,000. This is the year-to-date cash flow analysis. Since we only have 1 month of data so far, it is basically exactly the same as the previous graph. So I can just simply skip into the next one. The net cash flow is now 269,000, an increasing of 367,000 compared to July 2023. Our cash on hand decreased by 20%. We burned a lot of cash in the last financial year. Our cash flow margin increased from a negative 10% to 21%. Totally expense also increased by 7% due to higher wages and salary expenses for the months. Our current ratio decreased from 3.24 to 4.84, and our cash ratio also decreased from 3 to 2.5 because we have less cash on hand. Indicate a slightly decreased in liquidity. Revenue growth decreased by a negative 6%. This is much better compared to the last financial year. This is the most important figure here. You can see our gross profit margin increased, our revenue per employee increased, our operating profit increased as well, and our total revenue also increased. The account receivable day used to be 18 days, but now it is 20 days, which is stable. Our payable days remain at 8 days. Our total debit ratio decreased from 88% to 87%, and the total staff count increased from 78 to 82, with all 4 new employees being billable staff. Last year, our utilization rate was 39%. It's quite low, but now it's 51%. Our break-even utilization stabilized at 42 to 43%. The total hours available increased, which is highly relevant to the different working days in a month. Our average available hour rate slightly decreased from 241 to 236, but they are still quite similar. So you can see this is the expense breakdown. Most of our expenses are wages, superannuation, and rent. Revenue is led by Brisbane with 483,000, followed by Melbourne with 383,000, then Sydney 300,000, and Newcastle 75,000. Our recurring expense for the year are now almost 1.1 million, most of which is rent. We have 624,000 in rent. We have 130,000 for software subscriptions and 100K for cleaning. Most of the recurring expenses are managed by Anna, as she handles rent and utility bill. Kiki manages most of the software subscriptions, and Penny manages most of the marketing expense. This is the financial statement summary. If you need information, you can pause now and check all the figures. You can see you will have the balance. You have the balance sheet here, including our asset, liability, and equity figure. We also have the P&L for Brisbane. We also have the P&L for Melbourne, for Sydney, and for Newcastle. Finally, that's bring us to the end of the report. I hope you enjoyed it. This is my first attempt at recording a finance video. If you have any questions, please send me a message or comment below. This is Jimmy from SSW, signing off.